It's the Al Travis Show, but we're lucky to have our next guest on. Todd Bergeth, he's in. He's, of course, Todd and Fred's, Todd and Souhan. Catch him wherever you get your podcast. Todd, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm good, Al. Thanks for calling. Good. Appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you doing this for me. Podcastable, where do I pick up the podcast?
KWLM.com, the website, or anywhere you can get your podcast platforms. Todd and Friends, Todd and Souhan, you'll find it.
All right, appreciate you. Bust down, if you can, for me, your last Minnesota Vikings game of the season. I guess what I mean by it, it's a team that was 9-8, better than some of the actual records of people in the playoffs. We knew we weren't going to the playoffs. How do you wrap this season up in your head?
I don't think it was a good season. As a matter of fact, we have a text group with some of the guys that I do the podcast with, and it was a brutal season. I think to a man, each of us was ready for it to be over. And I can't say that very often about Viking season. Sure, they went 9-8. They won the last 5 in a row, but the last 4 of those were when they'd already been eliminated from playoff contention. So it didn't have the same feel to it. Some of the games felt like they were exhibitions, like the one this last weekend. I mean, the only reason and I didn't actually watch the game, I was driving across the state of Arizona, but it's good to listen to PA and Pete Bergeth and Ben Lieber and stuff. They have a lot more insights than the national TV guys do anyway. They sounded the same way almost. As a matter of fact, when McCarthy left the game then, and he had his hand wrapped in a towel, and I was just listening to the broadcast was all, Ben Lieber was not very complimentary. He said that he's making it look like he's had an amputation. He wants everybody to know that his hand hurts, and that's why he's come out of the game. I thought, wow. So he's right there on the sideline next to the players. He's a former Viking for many years, although I don't know if he was teammates with anybody still on the team or not. He's been retired for a while. But I thought that was fairly telling. It seems as though there's some frustration and irritation with the young QB, even within the organization, because I think you have to include Ben Lieber in part of that.
Oh, sure.
And when he got the 15-yard penalty, Pete Bergeth lit into him. Same thing. Yeah, and one of my podcast partners texted the group and said we have the most immature quarterback in the NFL. Now, I don't know that I agree with that necessarily, but
age-wise, he might be. He's got some growing up to do. There's no doubt about it. But when you look at a year like this, as horrible as it was, and I take one play. You take the Chicago Bears game where you're up by whatever it was, 1 point with 50 seconds to go, and the kickoff, and they return it, right? And we lose that ball game. Had we not, the Green Bay game would have been worth something. We would have had everybody on the team, everybody playing. It would have been fun to watch. If it comes out the same, we would be playing the Bears, I believe, right? If everything changes, it stays the same. And, of course, they're the division leaders. But guess what? We'd already beat them twice in the season. There would have been, it's weird to say this team, which had nothing going for it, would have made for an exciting year. No, I'm glad we're not in and getting out in the first week. But, golly, you're one play away from being in it.
Yes, in theory. Now, if all the rest of the games go according to Hoyle, that maybe the Vikings play differently. Maybe the quarterback throws more interceptions if the games are on the line. He did have a nice 3-game stretch there. McCarthy did. We had 7 touchdowns and 2 picks and a passer rating of about 100, I think, just below that maybe. So he had been putting together some good games, and then he smashes his hand on the helmet of a on-charging defender, and that wrecked that game, and then he missed one, and then it wrecked this game. So it kind of spoiled the end of the season. I guess he played last week half the game and then half the game this week. But it kind of ruined it. So sure, we can look. There's probably more than one game. I mean, the Vikings had a couple of other games that they coughed up at the end, where the outcome on those. But I'm with you. The failure on the kickoff coverage, and it was so blatantly obvious because we had 3 guys who just I don't have any responsibilities. In my mind, I said, "What do these guys have a bet? Who's going to get the special teams tackle?" So that's why they didn't have any. They didn't pay attention to their responsibilities at all. That's what it felt like to me. Was, hey, I got $500 that I get to the tackle and you don't. And then they all run straight in and give up their lanes and cost us the game. And that shouldn't happen for guys who are barely on the roster. It cost one guy his job. 3 that did it, 2 kept their jobs. 1 did get cut that week. I don't remember who it was. But, so it was really close. So I just lamented what I thought was a brutal season. And, that plays different. In theory, we're in the playoffs. And then you feel completely differently. And maybe they beat the Bears and advance. but it didn't feel like we were that close to me.
No, I would agree with you 100%. Now, you're the ownership. You're the Wolves. What are the first 2-3 things you've got to fix to make this team better?
Well, you need to fix your drafting. Now, the first-round picks in the last few years have looked a little better, but you have to do more than that, more than the first round. And then you need to figure out, okay, who made the call on the quarterback situation, what we're going to do. We were fine with going with J.J. McCarthy because we traded up to get him. But what happened with the backup quarterback situation? Mm-hmm. Who made the call and all that? Who's responsible? Let's fix it. Now, for my money, I'm not so sure Kwesi would be back for me next year, but I don't think they're going to do that. I mean, they just gave him an extension before this season, so I don't see them giving him a 3-year extension, I think it was, or maybe 4, and then cutting him loose the very next year. I guess I don't see that. That would make great financial sense, but set the dollars aside, I think I would move on. I think he's proven that he's not very good at drafting. Now, he's pretty good at bringing in defensive players as free agents in particular, but the offensive line calls that he made on free agency, how did they work? I mean, Ryan Kelly had extensive concussion history when they brought him in, and we saw what happened. And Fries looked to be a little bit beyond his years. He was just adequate, I would say, at the right guard. He had no sniffs for the Pro Bowl. So I think that's what I do. But I don't think he's going to do that. So lacking that, you need to have a good backup or even like Souhan termed it today. I just talked to him a bit ago, an elevated backup. Somebody who could win the job if McCarthy has a terrible preseason, but isn't someone who comes in thinking that they're the starter. Somebody like that. I don't know who that might be, but they need to have a better backup quarterback. And they got to try and keep Brian Flores.
I was going to say, maybe you know this, I don't. Does that come off the cap, the total cap of the team, or can the Wolves spend whatever they have to keep him here? Because don't you have to do that? He is such a mastermind. Yeah. Write the check. Yeah. Make him the highest paid defensive coordinator in the history of forever.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no cap on coaches. They can pay them whatever they want. So I think that, I would keep Brian Flores for sure. It seems like a great match. Ben Johnson stuck around in Detroit an extra year when he was getting head coaching offers because he thought they could win a Super Bowl the next year. That didn't happen. And then he moved on to the Bears after that season, and then we saw the Lions kind of definitely take a step back this year from where they were the previous two. So, pay Flores whatever he wants to stay as the defense coordinator. But if he gets a chance at a head coaching job, he's going to take that no matter what the Vikings do.
Well, is there any chance he doesn't? With the way he ran this defense, he's had head coaching experience. The 4 or 5 teams that have already dumped their head coaches, they're going to come up. They're going to come look at him.
Well, we'll see. He has an open and active lawsuits against the NFL and some individual teams for discrimination. There may be some owners who are reluctant to bring on a guy in the throes of a lawsuit against their bosses, the guys that they work for. So that's, I think, what held him back from being interviewed much last year. I don't even know if he got an interview last year. So we'll see if that atmosphere changes. But at least in the last couple of hiring cycles, that didn't change. They were reluctant to bring in Brian Flores, and I think that could still be the case for some. But it only takes one to say, we'll deal with whatever. That one could be the Raiders after they let Pete Carroll go.
All right, we've got to go real quick. How much do you fall off now when it comes to football watching? I like the playoffs, but I think I want to switch to basketball. Are you all in and just watch every game as much as you can until the Super Bowl? I mean, I'll catch the Super Bowl, but I'm a headline reader from here on out. Are you? Where are you at?
I'm kind of a sycophant. I really enjoy the NFL. I'll keep watching the playoffs. Usually what I do is pick a team that I want to see in the Super Bowl and see them go. And this year you look at the quarterbacks that are going to go to the playoffs. There's a lot of inexperience there. It could really be a wide open playoff. So I'll be excited. I'll watch quite a bit of it.
All right. Do you have, let's just throw it out there real quick then. Who do you think is going to win this whole thing with the teams that are in? Broncos, Seahawks? Who's your fave?
Not the Seahawks. I think Sam Darnold will choke before he gets to the Super Bowl. I'm a Los Angeles Rams guy.
Okay.
I think that the Rams have the best overall team. They have a terrific young defense with a guy named Jared Verse at defensive end, who maybe the Vikings should have taken at a Dallas Turner, although Dallas Turner played a lot better the second half of the season. But I like the Rams on that side. And, I want to see Josh Allen and the Bills make the Super Bowl. So I'm going Bills, and because those are teams that, for me, are pretty easy to pull for, too.
Easy to root for, you bet. Okay, I got to go to break real quick, and we come back and talk a little bit about your Timberwolves. I've got him, Todd Bergeth on the Al Travis Show. Todd and Friends, Todd and Souhan. Pick them up wherever you get your podcast. More right after this. It's the Al Travis Show. I've got him, Todd Bergeth, on the program. Todd and Friends, Todd and Souhan. Check them out wherever you get your podcasts. Before we get to the Timberwolves, just quick, I don't know if you caught this. What happened to Oklahoma City Thunder? I think I put the jinx on them when I think they only had 2 losses, and I'm like, this team is going to set the new record. And in the last 10 games, they've lost 5 times, including to the lowly Charlotte Hornets. What happens to OKC?
It's hard to keep up that type of intensity that they open the season with for an entire season. I mean, they're human beings.
Yeah.
And they were just the most intense team on the floor every night that they were playing. Well, that's going to have its ebbs and flows a little bit. I'm not sure what their injury situation is, but maybe some guys are gimping around a little bit because we're almost halfway into the season already. So it's hard telling. That's probably it. I mean, they still have the best record of the NBA, and it's 4 games better than the Spurs, so they're still atop the league. But I anticipated a slowdown. You weren't the only one predicting, they're going to set the new wins record in the NBA, which is 73, I think, for Golden State. And they were on the way to that, but it's a long season between here and there. Now they'd have to win all but 1 game the rest of the way to break the record. I guess I don't see that.
I think the Spurs broke their back. They were flying, they're rolling along. Okay, they lose to the Wolves, they're still fine, but they lose 3 games, all to the Spurs, and then it was like they, again, could lose 2 more all year. I think it broke their spirit. What do I know? All right, let's talk Minnesota Timberwolves if we can, because this is my genius here. Ant is another player from another planet. It's great. And we beat the Wizards and the Heat and lost to the Hawks and even the Bulls. I go back that far and look. In all the wins, Ant got his shots, got his numbers, and he's shooting 51%. But the rest of his teammates, in each of those wins, at least 5 players were in double digits. When you lose to the Hawks, only 2. Does Ant see that stuff? Am I out of my mind here to say we win more games when we spread it around? And I know Ant can get a shot anytime, but does that make any sense? And can they tell Ant that?
You think he's upset that they're not helping him offensively? Tell him?
No, he needs to get others involved, and I'm going to say it was the Nets loss that when it came time for the other guys to shoot, they hadn't shot the whole game. I think he hit 40 in that game, and it's like, do me a favor, Ant. Let's spread it around. You get the first shot of the game. That's you. Next one's got to go, and, start spreading around so everybody's in the game when we need them. That seems to work better than Ant. Okay, Naz, you got to shoot a 3-pointer or we lose.
Yeah. It's hard. Ant, he's not a natural point guard. That's not who he is. He's an attacker. I think what they need is a point guard who can actually play the position how it's supposed to be played and get guys involved and let Ant be himself, which is attack the basket, shoot your threes. He's a high-volume 3-point shooter these days, and because he's good at it. I want him shooting those because he makes a high percentage. I think to ask a scorer to score less to get his teammates more involved is a difficult thing to do. Okay. What Ant is supposed to be able to do, and that we see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander do, is still get your 32 points a game or your 30 points a game and your 7-8 assists a game. Now, sometimes assist numbers can be depleted because you guys can't make shots, which does happen to the Timberwolves. We see Naz Reid go into slumps with his shooting, and we see other guys do that as well. So sometimes the assist numbers are tamped on a little bit due to no fault of his own. But Ant came up a scorer, and that's who we need him to be, because outside of Julius, he's the only consistent scorer that we have.
So who do you go get, sir? I'm sorry for interrupting. I got one more minute. Give you 1 minute sign. Who do we go get? Who do you get? How do we get a real point guard?
How do we get
who do you trade to get a real point guard? Who's out there?
I know, and the problem is they're right up against the cap, too. You know, they've got the second apron, and somebody has to go if you bring somebody in. But if you keep the money down, like a Tyus Jones, former Timberwolves, not that he's a championship point guard necessarily, but I think he would help distribute the basketball. He's at $7 million, and that puts him in over into the next apron. So they would have to match salaries and that. I guess that would be my guy if I were to guess, that it would be Tyus Jones potentially, or somebody like that.
Fair enough. Todd, I'm out of time. I'd love having you on the program. Enjoy some warm weather, and thanks for coming on. We'll do it again next week.
Thanks, Al.
He's Todd Bergeth on the Al Travis Show. Get him, Todd and friends, Todd and Souhan, wherever you get your podcast. He's fantastic. I appreciate him taking the time to be here. It is the Al Travis Show. It's nothing without you. More right after this.